We've officially been to every single Universal theme park on the planet. All 7 of them spread across 5 resorts located in Beijing, Singapore, Osaka, Hollywood, and Florida. And the question we get asked the most is, which one is the best? Now look, that's like picking a favorite child. And as any parent will tell you, they always have a favorite child. So here is our list from worst to best, ranking every Universal theme park in the world. But first, some housekeeping. When we did this for Disney parks, some people were pretty vocal about our thoughts.
The worst park ranking that I have ever seen in my entire life.
But remember that this list is our opinion, and opinions can be swayed by a whole variety of factors, such as when you visited, who you visited with, the weather, and so on. Just because we rank something lower doesn't mean it's bad, it just means we found something that we prefer in the parks that rank higher. Also, Universal's list of theme parks isn't as cut and dry as Disney's is. Disney has never opened or acquired a theme park that isn't around today in some capacity. And I know somebody is typing it right now. I said theme park, not water park. River Country doesn't count. Universal, on the other hand, has. Take, for example, Portaventura. This theme park, located in Spain, was once owned and operated by Universal. Now, there's a cool little bit of history here, with the resort at one stage being called Universal Mediterranea, but is not owned by Universal now, so it doesn't make the list. But you could make the list of our subscribers, that is. Only 12.7% of you are subscribed. So if you want to see more content like this, be sure to subscribe, and if you want to be on an even more exclusive list, be sure to check out our Patreon for exclusive content you won't find anywhere else. Also excluded from the list is Volcano Bay. Now, Universal itself calls Volcano Bay a theme park, but they're wrong. It might be a park with a theme, but that is not what makes a theme park. Plus, I feel comparing dry parks to water parks is a little unfair. Guests go to each for completely different reasons, and they both provide different experiences. I would argue that Volcano Bay is one of the best themed water parks in the world, but for the sake of this list, we're also going to exclude this. Or just put it here right at the bottom, either way, it doesn't matter. Another weird outlier is Universal Horror Unleashed in Las Vegas. Now, I'd argue this is less of a theme park and more of an attraction. Again, it doesn't feel fair comparing something of this scope to the likes of Universal's other parks, because it's not trying to be an entire theme park. Which leaves us with 7 parks, soon to be in a very particular order, worst to best, that's how these things work, and honestly, this is probably a harder ranking list to place than our recent one on every Disney park. So many of these feel so similar to each other, and I would argue that even the best parks have their own glaring issues. But let's give it a crack anyway. For Review Time, I'm Luke, and this is our ranking of every Universal theme park. Universal Studios Singapore is strange. Firstly, it's located on Sentosa Island, which is basically a casino resort with a bunch of other attractions, of which Universal Studios is just one. I will admit that the vibe of this place is hard to describe, and it feels like the other attractions purely exist to be the bare minimum required to draw you towards the casino. Imagine if you combined Vegas with Orlando and smooshed it into one place. That's what Sentosa Island feels like. Secondly, it's the only park on this list that is neither owned nor operated by Universal. Instead, they license the brand out to Resort Worlds. While our number 1 Disney park on our rankings was one not owned or operated by them, for Universal, it's the opposite. This is the only one operated under that agreement, and it's the worst of the bunch. It's not a bad theme park per se, but it's an incredibly underwhelming Universal Studios park. First off, it's tiny, around half the size of Universal Studios Florida. And while it does pack a good amount of attractions into its space, the proximity of each of them means that no individual land is ever truly able to become immersive. It feels like they put in the bare minimum effort required to build a Universal park and called it a day. Of course, there are several standout things to do if you do visit, including a unique River Rapids version of Jurassic Park, the best version of Revenge of the Mummy coaster anywhere in the world, and the incredible, unique, dueling Battlestar Galactica coasters. If you're already going to Singapore, sure, add on an extra day to visit here if you're a theme park enthusiast, especially if it's during their incredible Halloween Horror Nights event. But it's not exactly a park I would go out of my way to visit. But next, over to the other side of the world for a park that should be much higher than it actually is. Universal Studios Florida has some of my top theme park attractions, and is home to some of my favorite theme park memories, but it's just not that great of a theme park, and the whole is somehow lesser than the sum of its parts. Look, I'm a sucker for things like the Blues Brothers show, E.T. Adventure, and the Horror Makeup Show, but I know today they aren't exactly ticket movers for the resort. The park is missing any attractions that drive intent to visit, and they haven't added a must-experience ride in countless years. And while one of the most recent additions, the Bourne Stuntacular, is one of the greatest theme park shows ever devised, shows just don't move the needle in the way that rides do. When this park opened, it was full of groundbreaking attractions never before seen in theme parks. But since then, essentially every opening day attraction has been removed. And in recent times, some absolutely baffling decisions have been made, leaving this park with too many dud attractions like Fast and Furious Supercharged and Minions Villain Con Blast. Hopefully, this park is on the turnaround now that Epic Universe is done and open. Thankfully, some recent additions like the new Day Parade and new Nighttime Spectacular are leagues above what they replaced. So hopefully, the same will also be able to be said about the new coaster replacing Rip Ride Rocket and whatever comes after it. And hey, there's no way the new coaster could be any worse than Rip Ride, right? It always hurts putting this park so low. Some of my favorite theme park memories are in this park during Halloween Horror Nights, the gold standard for spooky events when it comes to sheer scale and quality of the haunted houses. However, this isn't exactly fair to count as points for this park, as it's a separately ticketed event, only available a few months out of the year. The park is almost the Epcot of Universal Orlando. It has tons of events on throughout the year that can truly make or break your visit, depending on what, if anything, is offered when you visit. But next is a park with a lot of the same issues, but one single positive that makes it rank above Florida. This may be an edgy comment, but without the studio tour, Universal Studios Hollywood would probably be at the bottom of this list. Outside of the tour, the park simply doesn't have enough to do. A problem you'll probably hear a bit on this list. The park contains 10 rides and a handful of shows, of which maybe one show could be considered a major one. And a lot of those rides and areas they do have are probably the weakest version of them on offer around the world. But, as we mentioned earlier, the studio tour is the reason to come to this park. This is the park so many tried to be fake replications of, but only at Universal Hollywood can you tour the actual backlots and locations where some of cinema's most iconic movies have been shot. While the mini attractions on the tour run the full gamut of quality, the overall experience is one of a kind in the theme park realm, and changes day to day based on what is and isn't filming on the backlot. Every modern addition to the park seems to minimize the working studio and movie magic element though, and move more towards it just being another Universal Studios theme park, which is such a shame. Losses like the special effects stage and animal actors show being replaced by a Fast and Furious coaster showcase where this park is moving in the future. And it's a real bummer, as it comes with the risk of losing what makes this park so unique. But now, from the oldest Universal park to one of their newest. But before we get to the next ranking, it's over to me in a different shirt. That's right, I'm here in a different shirt to tell you all my deepest, darkest secret. Not all the footage in this video was shot by us. That's right, some of the footage in this video is actually from this week's sponsor, Storyblocks. This stock media subscription service offers unlimited downloads of diverse, high-quality media, but 4K videos, templates, music, sound effects, images, and more, all for a single subscription price. All the drone footage we've used in this video is from them, as we're not brave enough to take our drones overseas and fly them over theme parks. But thankfully, Storyblocks is packed with authentic stock footage created by real artists around the world. As creative, Storyblocks is genuinely a lifesaver for filling the gaps in our own footage and saves us countless hours in the editing suite. So to get started with unlimited stock media downloads at one set price, head to storyblocks.com/ReviewTyme or click the link in the description. There's a trend in theme parks where when a new park opens, it generally needs a couple of years to really hit its stride. Add attractions that just couldn't be added during its construction, and solve a whole bunch of problems that are generally very difficult to predict. Universal Studios Beijing, though, bucks this trend entirely. This park is less than 5 years old, and it already feels well beyond complete. Firstly, the park is big. Really big. You just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. I mean, you may think it's a long way down the road to the chemists, but that's just peanuts compared to Universal Studios Beijing. Now, one of the things you come to find with these studio parks is that beyond a fun, few little pockets of themed areas, the rest of the park is often made up of boring beige sound stages. Here, though, that's not the case. You do have a small section of studio buildings and warehouses at the entrance to set the scene, but the rest of the park is made up of fully realized lands that rival the likes of Disney. Now sure, some of them feel a little pointless, like the Waterworld land that has a dreadful restaurant, a statue of Kevin Costner, and the titular show, but the others they have feel great. You got the classic Hogsmeade, new lands themed to Kung Fu Panda, Minions, and Transformers, and an entire Jurassic World section that feels like you're stepping straight into the films. Also, fun fact, the palm trees you see here are fake. They're made completely out of plastic, and noticing that for the first time absolutely blew my mind. Now is probably a great time to talk about Jurassic World Adventure, one of the park's major dark rides. This ride is simply insane. Within seconds of boarding your vehicle, you come face to face with the Indominus Rex, which, unfortunately for you, has a taste for tourists. Before long, you're being chased backwards by this hulking dinosaur, flung through scenes with other dinos, before concluding with an epic finale where the Indominus and T-Rex face off on either side of you. This is easily one of the best dark rides in the world and a testament to how far Universal has come in the last few years. Though, not everything is perfect here. Remember that Kung Fu Panda land we talked about? Well, its main attraction leaves a little to be desired. I get that this is meant to be for younger guests, but it does really feel like they skimped out here. Despite its impressive scale, every scene struggles to fill its space, and some of the animatronics are frankly horrifying. There is also a huge section that consists of screens where the characters just kind of float around, and this drags on for way too long. But every rose has its thorn, and this park really is a rose. Universal Studios Beijing is chock full of high-quality entertainment. You have Untrainable, the Steven Spielberg special effects show, Waterworld, those spontaneous Harry Potter things, and Sing on Tour, where we almost saw a family get into a punch-on. Genuinely, you couldn't ask for a more well-rounded Universal Studios experience, and any further additions to this park moving forward are simply going to make it better than it already is. But now, on to the top 3 Universal parks in the world. Epic Universe is the newest and grandest Universal Studios park, and honestly the hardest to rank. It's the least Universal feeling of all of their parks, in both great and not so great ways. It's the third theme park at the Orlando Resort, but it feels disconnected from the others due to the 20-minute bus ride to the park that takes you well off Universal property. Some lands in this park are the closest the USA has ever come to the Tokyo Disney Sea level of scale and immersion, but overall there simply isn't enough to do. On my recent visit here, I had 2 days in the park, and the first day was honestly incredible. We were able to ride every attraction, see every show, and absorb the amazing atmosphere. However, our second day in the park was when the cracks started to show. Multiple major rides like Donkey Kong and Ministry didn't open with the park and were closed for hours on opening. Wait times across the board were also ridiculously inaccurate. We waited 65 minutes for a posted 35-minute wait, and then my brother-in-law waited 150 minutes for wing gliders. Yes, 2.5 hours for this. Now, why, you might ask? That's a good question. Well, it was the only attraction in the park he hadn't done and was posted at 65 minutes when he entered the queue. That poor soul. Now, we did get Pizza Moon on that day, though, and it was honestly incredibly good. Not just theme park pizza good, but pizza full stop good. Now, pretty much all the issues I had boiled down to the park simply not having enough to do. The ride capacity can't keep up with the guest demand, and that issue is only heightened by the insane amount of downtime such highly technical rides like these have. But the park still ranks highly, as it's packed with unimaginable experiences and adventures you won't get at any other park. The moment you enter Berk is simply jaw-dropping. Harry Potter is done on a scale I've never before seen in a theme park. The two shows are packed with incredible effects that make me wish Universal added more shows to some of their other parks that are lacking in them. And Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein experiment, might just be the best dark ride in the entire world, and worth the price of admission alone. And look, Celestial Park, oh boy, Celestial Park. What an incredible modern version of a hub. The water flowing through the land in the day and the lights pulsing through the land in the night make it an incredible place to be. This central area and the ever-looming portals to each land make your exploration of the park exciting. There is always something new to discover, even if that discovery is just chilling in the Celeste Tiki Bar and watching the world go by. Also, the carousel in this land is wild. I don't want to spoil it too much because it truly is a mind-blowing surprise for a carousel, but don't just write it off because you think it's going to be horses going around in circles. With a few more additions, I could easily see this climbing up the ranks, and in a decade or so, may very well be the best Universal park. But for now, there are two that rank above it. Universal Studios Japan is an interesting theme park. Being this high up, you know we're going to have a lot of praise, but this park isn't without its flaws. Firstly, the attraction lineup here is spectacular. There are so many rides, including two giant roller coasters, Hollywood Dream and Flying Dinosaur, that both really pack a punch. Despite having plenty of options for the families, Universal has really embraced their position as a more adult theme park here, with options for those wanting to face the extreme. For years, Universal Studios Japan was the park where you could relive a lot of the classic Universal Studios attractions that had been closed elsewhere in the world. Did you know this park still has Jaws, the ride? And likewise, only a few years ago, you could experience Terminator 2 3D, Backdraft, and before Minions took over, Back to the Future, the ride. Also, if you've been to Universal Studios Florida, you might be surprised to see that the rest of the park is almost identical in layout and theme to that one, with sections dedicated to Hollywood, New York, and San Francisco. And those lands are where many of those classic attractions once were. But in recent years, the park has slowly reinvented itself, removing all of those classics except for Jaws to add new options and limited time events that really help give it its own sense of identity. You've got entire lands dedicated to Harry Potter, Super Nintendo World, Jurassic Park, Minions, Sesame Street, and more. When it comes to entertainment, you won't be disappointed here. Now, I don't speak Japanese, and that's the main language here, so I have no idea what is happening in Universal Monsters Live Rock and Roll Show, but Beetlejuice comes in, roasts the guests, brings out a bunch of monsters to dance and sing the classic rock songs from the 80s and 90s, and promptly leaves with no apologies. And I can't get enough of it. Outside of that, you've got Sing on Tour, Waterworld, a bunch of spontaneous shows that pop up around the park, as well as shows for families such as Playing with Curious George and other shows that have bright colors flashing at children to keep them entertained. Probably the biggest issue with Universal Japan is that it lacks its own identity. It feels like a combination of every other Universal Studios park without having its own place to shine. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I hope that with so many attractions closing in recent years, they have a chance to construct something that is more unique to the park and makes it stand out in a similar way to Jurassic World in Beijing. But there's only one park that comes above it. Islands of Adventure probably has the best ride lineup of any theme park in the world. Now, if you know me, you know it seems unbelievable that this park is #1 after they shuttered my darling Poseidon's Fury. But it features such an incredibly well-rounded ride lineup with countless world-class offerings, I didn't have a choice. Also, this is the most themed theme park that Universal has ever themed. While the scale might not quite match the sheer size of Epic Universe's theming, the immersiveness of Islands of Adventure can't be beat. Now, this might be another edgy comment. This video is being edgy comment central, but Port of Entry is the best themed entrance land in any theme park worldwide. And the theming just continues from there. While some lands may have simplistic theming, such as those inspired by Zeus or Marvel, the theming is consistent with the property and skillfully makes you feel a part of that world. From the no straight lines in Zeus to the stepping into a comic book feel of Marvel. The completely unique layout and offerings compared to the more repeated studio-style parks also help this park stand out in the wider Universal offerings. Is this the only park in the world that contains both one of our top 5 dark rides and one of our top 5 roller coasters? To this day, The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man continues to blow my mind, and I can't even comprehend how incredible riding this would have been back in 1998 when it opened. It seamlessly blends screens and physical effects in a way no other version of this ride type has since. The park also features an incredibly well-rounded coaster lineup, from the perfect first coaster in Flight of the Hippogriff, the world's best family coaster with Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, a ride that's as difficult to say as it is fun, and the ultimate thrill coaster that is Velocicoaster, a ride that I'm sure one day will throw me into the lagoon, and I welcome it. There's also the Incredible Hulk, but I swear I'm getting too old for that thing in the hot Floridian sun, so I don't ride it that often anymore. The rest of the ride lineup is just as well balanced, featuring a ton of rides for families in Zeus Landing, including the iconic Cat in the Hat Dark Ride, water rides that get you so wet I refuse to ride them without bringing a change of clothes, Jurassic Park and Jurassic World living together in the same land harmoniously, and the original and arguably best version of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Of course, the park isn't perfect. No park is. Islands of Adventure essentially completely lacks in entertainment offerings. Other than the lackluster shows in the Wizarding World, there is nothing else to see, making this a difficult park to visit if you don't enjoy rides. There are 2 giant amphitheaters in the park, but both of them are shuttered and haven't seen shows within them for years. It's such a shame, as to us, entertainment is what can send a park truly into the theme park stratosphere. And while we still believe this is probably the best theme park in all of Orlando, with a wider range of entertainment, this could arguably be the best theme park in the entire world. But look, Universal, if you're still listening at this point, can we get some more Islands of Adventure specific merchandise, please? On my most recent visit, I even asked, and the one thing you had was a magnetic chip clip with the logo on it. And that does it. Every Universal Studios theme park ranked from worst to best. Now, I'm sure you have feelings about our rankings and can't wait to tell us how wrong or right we are in the comments. Just be nice to us, please. My little heart can't take the bullying again. For Review Time, I'm Luke. Thanks for watching.